The sun dipped low over the endless plains, painting the horizon with streaks of gold and crimson. A young boy, barely 15, stumbled toward the cowboys' isolated ranch, his eyes wide with fear and desperation. "Sir, if they come, hide my sister," he whispered, trembling as he clutched a worn leather satchel. Dust swirled around him, carried by the wind like harbingers of danger. The cowboy, a rugged man with a stoic gaze, studied the boy carefully, noticing the terror etched deep in his face. There was no hesitation in his mind, protection was his instinct. The boy's sister, a girl no older than 12, peeked from behind a tree, her eyes brimming with tears. She held tightly to a small doll, a fragile shield against the world's cruelty. "They'll take me too," she murmured, voice barely audible. The cowboy crouched, meeting the boy's gaze with a steady firmness. "No one will take her," he promised, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. He knew the land was harsh, but even harsher was the lawless gang rumored to be hunting innocents along these plains. Night began to creep over the ranch, casting long shadows across the wooden fence posts and the quiet barn. The wind carried distant shouts, echoes of a violent threat approaching. The cowboy moved swiftly, securing doors and windows, while the boy's sister clung to him from a safe corner inside the barn. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle outside sent shivers down their spines. Yet, despite the tension, a sense of safety lingered in the boy's eyes, a trust he hadn't felt in weeks. The cowboy walked outside, lantern in hand, scanning the horizon. "If they come, I'll stand and fight," he muttered to himself, voice rough but resolute. The boy peeked from the window, hope flickering in his chest. He had heard of the cowboy's reputation, some called him fearless, others said he was reckless. But now, in this desperate moment, those tales were more than stories, they were the boy's only chance. The first distant hoofbeats thundered, sending the boy's heart racing. The girl clutched her brother's hand tightly, tears streaming silently. "Will he really fight them all?" she whispered. The boy nodded, though fear gnawed at his resolve. Outside, the cowboy positioned himself near the entrance, shadows masking his figure, ready for what was coming. The first gang members appeared on horseback, silhouettes against the darkening sky. They slowed as they saw the ranch ahead, sensing resistance they hadn't expected. The tension was unbearable. Inside, the boy and his sister huddled behind hay bales. The cowboy's calm voice cut through their panic. "Stay here. Trust me." Each word carried a promise heavier than any rifle. Outside, the gang dismounted, moving cautiously, their intentions clear but their plan uncertain. The cowboy waited, measuring each step, each shadow, preparing to turn fear into action. This night would decide more than their safety, it would define courage for the boy and his sister forever. A sudden scream pierced the silence, a test of nerves. The girl pressed herself against the boy, trembling uncontrollably. The cowboy's voice boomed, "Get behind me." And in an instant, he drew his rifle, steady and unflinching. Shots rang out in the night, echoing across the plains, a symphony of defiance and danger. Dust and gunpowder mixed with the cold night air as the cowboy's aim was precise, each movement calculated. The boy's heart pounded, a mix of terror and admiration. The gang faltered, shocked by the cowboy's fearlessness. They had expected a frightened rancher, an easy target. Instead, they found a man rooted in bravery, willing to risk everything. Inside, the siblings clung to each other, whispering prayers, trusting the cowboy who had become their shield. One member of the gang fell back, clutching an arm, while the others hesitated, uncertainty breaking their rhythm. The plains had become a battlefield, and courage was its silent victor. Hours felt like minutes. The moon rose, silvering the land with a cold light. The cowboy continued his defense with unwavering precision, each action a dance between life and death. The boy peeked through a crack in the barn, seeing the cowboy move like a shadow, fearless and focused. He realized then that bravery was not the absence of fear but the mastery of it. His sister's grip on him loosened slightly, hope sparking in her young heart. Finally, the gang began to retreat, unwilling to face the unyielding spirit before them. The cowboy lowered his rifle, chest heaving, eyes scanning the horizon for any signs of a return. Silence settled over the ranch like a fragile blanket. The siblings stepped out cautiously, tears of relief streaming down their faces. They ran toward the cowboy, embracing him in gratitude and awe. "You saved us," the boy whispered. "No, we survived together," the cowboy corrected, his voice gentle now. Morning broke over the plains, casting golden light over the battered but standing ranch. The boy and his sister cleaned up, their hands trembling but hearts stronger. The cowboy moved calmly, repairing fences and doors, as if yesterday's chaos was a distant memory. He handed the children breakfast, a silent gesture of normalcy after the storm. Laughter returned in small doses, hesitant but real, as the siblings felt safety in the presence of their protector. The boy's eyes lingered on the cowboy, admiration and curiosity mingling. "Will they come back?" he asked. The cowboy shook his head slowly. "Not if we remain vigilant. Fear gives them power, courage robs it." The girl smiled shyly, clutching her doll. The cowboy knelt beside them, sharing stories of past struggles, each tale carrying wisdom and hope. The siblings listened intently, absorbing courage like sunlight after a long winter. By afternoon, the ranch buzzed with quiet activity. The siblings explored their new temporary home, marveling at simple comforts they had long missed. The cowboy watched them, protective yet encouraging, fostering independence while shielding them from danger. Outside, the wind carried whispers of freedom, a promise that the plains, though wild and unforgiving, could be tamed with courage and unity. The siblings began to dream again, imagining a life beyond fear. The cowboy taught them survival skills, showing the boy how to handle tools, tend to the animals, and read the land. The girl learned to be brave in small ways, facing tasks that once seemed impossible. Slowly, the ranch transformed from a place of refuge into a home. Trust deepened, bonds strengthened, and hope grew. Yet, a shadow of uncertainty lingered, a reminder that danger never truly vanished from the plains. Late in the evening, as the sun sank below the horizon, the boy sat beside the cowboy. "Do you think we can stay safe?" he asked quietly. The cowboy placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We can, as long as we stick together. Courage is contagious. Fear is optional." The siblings felt an unfamiliar warmth, the kind that comes from knowing someone would fight for them, no matter the odds. That night, for the first time in weeks, they slept without terror pressing down. Dawn broke with a pale light, revealing tracks around the ranch that hinted the gang might return. The cowboy studied the marks carefully, noting the subtle signs of movement. He gathered the boy and his sister, speaking softly but firmly. "We need a plan, one that keeps you safe." The siblings nodded, hearts pounding but trust unshaken. They had seen him face danger without flinching, and now, they would learn that courage could be shared, even passed like a shield from one heart to another. Suddenly, a rider appeared on the horizon, galloping fast. The siblings gasped, fear surging anew. The cowboy didn't flinch. He signaled them toward a hidden cellar beneath the barn. "Quickly, now," he urged, moving to intercept the approaching figure. But as the rider drew near, the cowboy recognized the face. It was a young woman, one of the gang's scouts, exhausted and desperate. Her eyes pleaded for mercy, and the cowboy realized not all enemies were heartless. The woman dismounted, collapsing to the ground. They forced me," she gasped. "I don't want to hurt anyone." The cowboy's eyes softened, assessing the truth in her trembling frame. The siblings peeked from their hiding place, tension mingling with curiosity. The cowboy helped the girl to her feet, guiding her inside the barn. "You're safe here," he said, voice gentle but strong. It was a turning point. The cowboy's courage wasn't just about fighting, it was about knowing when to show mercy. As the day progressed, the woman explained the gang's plan. They had intended to take children for ransom, striking fear into families across the plains. The cowboy listened, silent and calculating, while the siblings absorbed every word. "We can stop them together," he said finally, eyes blazing. "We'll use their fear against them." The young woman nodded, her gratitude evident. This unexpected alliance would shift the balance, turning potential doom into a strategic advantage. The cowboy taught the siblings and the scout how to anticipate the gang's moves, using the landscape to their favor. The boy's hands grew steady, learning the rhythm of planning and observation. The girl's small frame became an asset, navigating hidden paths to scout for danger. The day was filled with preparation and strategy, but also laughter and a growing sense of empowerment. Hope was no longer fragile, it was becoming unstoppable. Night fell again, thick and dark, hiding the ranch under a blanket of stars. The gang arrived, unaware that their plans had been uncovered. The cowboy positioned himself, the scout at his side, and the children safely concealed. As the first shots were fired, the siblings watched, hearts racing but no longer paralyzed by fear. They saw bravery take form before their eyes, measured, precise, and unyielding. Courage was contagious, and it had taken root in their souls. The gang hesitated, thrown off by unexpected obstacles and clever tactics. Traps, distractions, and the cowboys' unwavering presence made their advance chaotic. The young woman guided them, sharing knowledge of the gang's weaknesses. Each moment was a test of nerves and skill, but the cowboys' leadership transformed the chaos into order. The siblings' admiration deepened. This was more than survival, it was a lesson in resilience and hope. Hours passed, and finally the gang began to retreat, realizing that the ranch was no longer an easy target. The cowboy lowered his rifle, exhaustion etched across his face, but his eyes shone with quiet triumph. The siblings emerged from their hiding place, tears of relief streaming down. The scout joined them, safe and grateful. They embraced, an unlikely family forged through adversity. The plains had tested them, but they had emerged stronger, bonded by courage and trust. The next morning, the boy and his sister helped repair the damages, laughter mixing with the morning breeze. The cowboy watched them, proud but humble. "You've learned well," he said, nodding to both of them. The children beamed, their confidence restored, and a sense of security now enveloped the ranch. They had faced fear, and fear had no dominion over them. The cowboy's promise had held true, no one would take them, not ever again. Days turned into weeks, and the ranch flourished. The siblings explored, learned, and grew, guided by the cowboy's steady hand. The scout chose to stay, finding a home and purpose in helping protect the land and its fragile peace. The boy mastered riding, learning the rhythm of the plains, while the girl became fearless in her own right, leading small tasks with pride. Together, they created a life that once seemed impossible, a testament to resilience and unity. Word spread across the surrounding lands of the cowboy who protected the innocent and stood against fear. Families arrived seeking safety, inspired by tales of courage and mercy. The ranch became a sanctuary, a symbol that bravery paired with compassion could conquer darkness. The boy and his sister felt pride swell within them. They had endured, survived, and thrived. Their bond with the cowboy and the scout became unbreakable, like roots anchored deep in fertile soil. The cowboy, ever humble, refused accolades, focusing instead on teaching and protecting. "Courage is not about glory," he told the children. "It's about choosing to act when others would flee." The boy nodded solemnly, understanding finally that bravery wasn't the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. The girl smiled, realizing she could face the world no longer as a victim, but as a force fortified by love, protection, and resilience. One evening, as the sun set in a riot of oranges and purples, the siblings sat on the porch beside the cowboy. "Do you think we're truly safe now?" the boy asked. The cowboy looked over the plains, calm but vigilant. "Safe enough," he said, "because we know courage, we know each other, and we know how to fight for what matters." The girl leaned against him, feeling the strength that had carried them through storms. For the first time in their lives, peace felt real, earned through trials and trust. A gentle wind rustled the fields, carrying the scent of wildflowers and freedom. The siblings ran through the open plains, laughter echoing across the ranch. The cowboy and scout watched, smiling, hearts full. The terror of the past seemed distant, replaced by resilience, unity, and hope. The ranch, once a haven in peril, had transformed into a home bursting with life, courage, and love. Every shadow of fear had been replaced by light. As night descended, the siblings lay beneath a blanket of stars, recounting their adventure, learning that bravery came in many forms. The cowboy joined them, sharing stories of his past battles, each tale a lesson in persistence and morality. The scout, too, joined, her voice blending with theirs in laughter and reflection. Together, they formed a family bound not by blood, but by trials, courage, and compassion. Their hearts were no longer fragile, they were unbreakable. In the final moments, the cowboy stood at the edge of the plains, rifle slung over his shoulder, eyes scanning the horizon. The boy and his sister ran to him, hugging him tightly. "Thank you," they said, voices trembling with emotion. The cowboy knelt, meeting their gaze. "No, thank yourselves. You survived, and that makes all the difference." The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging a victory earned not just with arms, but with hearts. The plains settled into silence, the past's terror replaced by hope and possibility. The cowboys' ranch, once a battleground, now hummed with life, protection, and community. The siblings had learned that courage wasn't just a word, it was action, trust, and love manifested in the face of adversity. They had endured, grown, and flourished. The cowboy, scout, and children together embodied a legacy of bravery and kindness that would echo across the plains for years to come. And so, under the vast expanse of sky, the cowboy, the siblings, and their new ally looked toward the horizon, hearts light, spirits unbroken. They had faced fear, survived, and now thrived, proof that courage, compassion, and unity could transform even the darkest nights into dawns of hope. The boy squeezed his sister's hand, smiling. The cowboy returned the gesture, his promise fulfilled. The plains were no longer a place of terror, they were a home, a sanctuary, and a testament to the strength of the human heart.